WC3L playoffs, who will make it to the land stage, and my predictions for who will go all the way and who will bow out early. France and Sweden both hold the WCG qualifiers. I'll tell you why both countries can take home medals. With Sunday came InCup, and a crazy InCup at that. After the dust settles, who will come out on top? Will BlizzCon be a repeat of World Cyber Games, or will somebody break up the orc duo of Grubby and Zachar? This is
Want to see something real scary?
Imbalanced. Hello, I'm Seed. I want to start this week off with an apology. I didn't realize how many good games there were at InCup and BlizzCon, so as a result, the teaser video that some of you watched was misleading, because I'm not going to spend much time on WC3L or the WCG qualifiers. Anyway, the number of the video is 69. I'll get to that later. Now let's go straight to the action. I don't have much time to talk about SK versus Fantake, but here's AS Team Play's Spider versus Mouse Sports Farseer. From this 6-minute game, you can tell how the entire clan war went. Mouse Sports won 3-0 with a map score of 6-0. Some of that has to be AS Team Play not playing hard because they knew the clan war was a lost cause. In the second game of the series, Spider essentially gave up. I know how he feels. When you lose game 1 that badly, it's hard to bounce back and play your best. I predict the WC3L finals will be won by 4K, which is probably what everybody else is predicting. All of the 4K members have really stepped up their game lately, and it showed up at BlizzCon. SK will definitely get second. They lost a couple of clan wars early on, but they've made some changes and have a decent 2v2 team that can actually win some games. They'll have a much harder time getting second if Insomnia is unable to play because of the car accident he was in. Fury was a strong favorite going into the Swedish World Cyber Games qualifiers. With only one player advancing to the grand finals, someone would have to beat Fury. Essentially, they needed to play a perfect game, without losing half their army to a TP bug. Mad Frog was the only real challenger, but he had just come back from a long break and wasn't up to form. He had a few moments where he looked like he used to, but for the majority of the game, his style was unpolished. Fury ended up winning the qualifier and a trip to the World Cyber Games. The big change in Todd's style has been his use of peasants. When he has enough lumber, the peasants are off to war, even out of militia mode. The tactic helps out, but not that much, and you really have to be careful that you don't run out of wood. Todd didn't lose a single game in the entire tournament. What he did do was really vary the tactics that he used. He essentially used the tournament as a way to practice lots of different strategies. In his first 6 games, he used 6 different second heroes: the Beastmaster, the Blood Mage, the Fire Lord, the Mountain King, the Naga Sea Witch, and last but not least, the Goblin Tinker. Todd earned himself a berth in the WCG finals. In Cup, some round 6 action, Grubby versus Lucifer. Grubby really shouldn't fight this battle. Destroyers with mana are very deadly and kill grunts very quickly. Having said that, since Grubby has an advantage from the early game, he isn't that wrong in fighting the battle. He could have picked a better situation, but it won't cost him the game. After the first fight I showed you, Lucifer wasn't able to take out Grubby's Expo. That Expo allowed him to get enough Batriders to finish the game right here, even though Lucifer TP's out trying to avoid the Creepjack. We move on to a round 7 game, Moon fighting a mirror match against Mind Twist. Mind Twist is the Red Night Elf. Moon stays tier 1 and fights with mass hunts, while Mind Twist techs to Dryads with bears to try and counter. Moon must end the game quickly or Mind Twist's tech advantage will dominate him. The easiest way to end a game is to tower push, which is exactly what Moon does. Moon doesn't have the firepower to kill the bears, but he would if his tower is finished. Mind Twist will break out of the tower push and win the game, stopping Moon from winning back-to-back InCup. Here's another round 7 game, this time 4K Grubby versus 4K Fob. The game is probably one of the closest I've ever seen. It shows how Fob has stepped up and is close to Grubby's level. Fob starts out with a different strategy, going Gargoyles to stop Grubby from using Wyvern. That decision only makes the game closer when Grubby's Batriders come in, the 2 players are nearly equal. In the next battle, Fob sacrifices his Destroyers to the Batriders to save his Gargoyles. It's a rather smart decision because Batriders completely own Gargoyles and only do decently against Destroyers. At the end of the battle, neither player has any air units left. From this point on, both players' armies are insignificant. It comes down to heroes versus heroes. Inherently, the undead heroes are stronger in this situation because Grubby can only focus the Death Knight. If he focuses the Lich, Fob will just coil it. It also helps that Fob's heroes are faster and have range like that. Once the Tauren Chieftain is revived, Fov comes looking for him again. It doesn't matter if Grubby had run sooner, the Death Knight's speed would have caught him eventually. In the end, it's one hero against two. There isn't much Grubby can do. Fov takes the game, but it could have easily gone either way. I'm excited to see what these two players will do at the WC3L Finals and at World Cyber Games. At WCG, they might be part of a 4K sweep of the medals. Now, some Round 8 action. That's the semifinals with Fov versus Storm. This is the game where the number 69 comes into play. Try to guess what it means. Recently, Storm's strategy has been to mass tower an Expo, and then after the Expo is up, tech to whatever Tier 3 units he needs. Fov really doesn't want the Expo to go up, for the main reason of, if it doesn't, the game is over. He definitely succeeds in slowing down the Expo by killing a ton of peasants, but Fov doesn't actually take it out. When Storm's Mountain King comes out, he gets an easy Death Knight kill and forces Fov to run back to his base. Fov really fights to stop Storm's second Expo. He kills a lot of peasants, but isn't able to take it out. This is the first real battle that's fought. You can hear all of Storm's air units dying. He needs to switch up his army to something different, or he won't be able to fight Fov heads up at all. Fov's Fiends just have way too easy of a time focusing down all of Storm's units. After the battle, Fov has figured out how to counter the towers. He uses Death End Decay and an invisible Dreadlord to put the Mountain King to bed. Storm has to come up with something fast, or risk losing the game to Fov. Storm, thinking quick on his feet, does figure out how to win the game. He won't worry about Fov's army, even though his knights could destroy the Fiends. He'll just take out Fov's heroes and let the rest take care of itself. Once Storm got high enough level Bolt and Holy Light, Fov needed to do something to stop him from killing his heroes so easily. Some potions of invulnerability would have really helped. But Fov doesn't protect his heroes and loses the game to Storm. The In-Cup finals are Storm versus Mindstorm, who I'm just going to call Mind to reduce the confusion. Even though the two players spawn on close position, Storm still expos and succeeds in getting the Expo up. Mind was scared that Storm would do to him what he did to Fov, so he decides to try and tower push Storm. Mind's army is superior because Storm can't make any riflemen to counter the Hunts. The only thing stopping Mind from victory are the Towers of Storm, which are very strong against Hunts. The game starts going downhill for Mind when the Mountain King comes out and easily kills the Demon Hunter. The real problem is that Storm can repair his towers with peasants, while Mind doesn't have any wisps to repair his towers. When Storm gets some mortar teams, the game is effectively over. The other games in the series went just like this one, though some slightly longer. Storm wins the In-Cup Fall Series number 2. Round 1, Fury vs. Etched. Etched is taking the place of Insomnia, who was in a car accident. We all hope he has a speedy recovery. Etched tries to copy what Storm did in In-Cup, but Fury's ready for it. He counters the towers with destroyers and an Expo of his own. Fury wins Game 1 easily. Game 2 on Turtle Rock, Etched tries to Expo again. Fury will have none of it and comes to stop him. Once Etched is forced to TP out, Fury makes quick work of the towers and advances in 2 games. More Round 1 action, Todd vs. Mad Frog, Game 1 on Twisted Meadows. Todd takes easily, helped by this early surround. Game 2 starts out with this act of pure guts. Todd, seeing a much larger army coming to creepjack him, doesn't just TP out like I would have. He waits and forces Mad Frog to TP out, which is probably one of the harder plays to make on the fly. Todd wins Game 2 in the series. Here's one last Round 1 game, Wizard vs. Grubby on Knollwood. Grubby shows how he's changed his style of play against Night Elf since the show match against Moon. Instead of going Raiders, he uses Demolishers to win the game. The change of strategy itself didn't win the game. He also did a good job of keeping Wizard's heroes low levels while leveling his own heroes. Grubby advanced to Round 2. Losers bracket Round 1, Game 2, Etched vs. Wizard. Etched again trying to copy Storm's style of play. He got his towered Expo up and massed flying machines to take out Wizard's Expo, which he does. He then mixes in some steam tanks to try to win the game without fighting Wizard's army at all. Wizard loses most of his base, but Etched needs something more to finish him off when he camps in the upper right-hand Expo. He finds that something more by mixing in knights with steam tanks. Etched wins the game, but he lost the first and third game, so Wizard advances to the next round. You have to think that the results could have been different if Etched had had more time to prepare for the game. He was called up at the last second when Insomnia got hurt. More Losers Bracket Round 1 action. Mad Frog vs. Short Round Game 2 after Short Round 1 Game 1. The map is Twisted Meadows. Mad Frog shows us that he can still play with the best of them, but only sometimes. In this game, he played as well as he did before his break, winning the game handily. In the first and third games, though, he was very rusty. If he had qualified for World Cyber Games, he might have been able to do well there, but he will have to look further down the road to prove himself. Now, back to the upper bracket, round 2 with Todd versus Zachard. Zachard is ahead in this fight over Todd's Expo, but when Todd brings in his militia, he's able to take back the upper hand, somewhat. The untimely death of his hero stopped Todd from completely winning the battle. He does manage to come back enough to still have a chance at winning the game. Todd, thinking he can win the game, easily pushes into Zachard's base. He puts his Mountain King out to be surrounded, and Zachard takes the bait. Zachard focuses all of his firepower on the Mountain King, and he doesn't even kill it. That gives Todd the winning game too, but he was unable to get his feet under him in the first and third games of the series, losing both. Zachard stops the all 4K upper bracket finals. The other game of the upper bracket, round 2, is Fury versus Grubby, an all 4 Kings game. Somehow I hoped that Fury would be able to stick with Grubby, but he wasn't. Grubby handily defeated him in 2 games, completely demolishing him in this one. Back down to the losers bracket, where Fury's taking on Short Round. Fury was never able to start harassing effectively, which really surprised me. Undead vs Night Elf is one of Fury's strongest matchups. Again, I miscalculated Fury, as he loses 2-0. The other game in the losers bracket was Todd versus Wizard. Wizard tried to expand early, and did, but it cost him so many units, time, and gold that he was never able to tech to tier 2. He was stuck trying to use tier 1 units against Todd's tier 2 army. It's like fighting tanks with swords. Todd took game 1. In game 2, Wizard again expoed, but this time he was able to keep it up, easily, because Todd also expoed. Wizard is trying to take out Todd's expo, and he isn't doing a very good job at it. His army is in a really bad position, and he isn't doing anything to fix it. What you should do in this situation is back off, expo a third time, and tech. Then fight when you have both the gold and tech advantages. Todd won the series and advanced to the next round. Now the upper bracket finals, not to be confused with the grand finals. It's Zachard versus Grubby. Game 1, Zachard, for some reason unknown to me, fights Grubby when he's down 10 food. 80 food for Grubby, 70 for Zachard. It's a miracle that the fight was even close, but there was no way Zachard could win, starting off down by that much. In game 3, Grubby decided to creep more and let Zachard tower his base. He knew that once he got his demolishers out, he'd be able to take out the towers and force Zachard to fight him. When they did fight, he would have level 3 heroes, and Zachard wouldn't, allowing him to win. For all of you who don't know, level 3 heroes, it's the big level. Grubby pulled off the plan perfectly and won the series 2-1. Todd was able to make quick work of Short Round, winning with 1 tower rush and a tier 2 push. He then faced Zachard in the lower bracket finals. In this battle, Todd doesn't have enough Dragonhawks to take out Zachard's air. Because of it, he doesn't have anything to help his ground units out. He needs to get enough air to stop Zachard's air units, but not so much that he loses his ground army completely. In the final battle, Todd gets too many Dragonhawks, and his ground army is so small that it doesn't matter if his Dragonhawks kill every one of Zachard's air units. Zachard wins games 2 and 3 after losing game 1, which you'll get to see in the top plays. Now, on to the grand finals. If you haven't watched the games already, I highly recommend that you go and download them at www.wcreplays.com. They're great games, and what I can show you doesn't begin to show you how good they are. Zachard's red, Grubby blue. Grubby starts the first game out with this nice creep jack. It serves to prove one thing. The Pit Lord may be fat and easy to surround, but with Howl of Terror, he's very hard to kill. Grubby does have to TP out, but that doesn't mean he didn't win the fight. Grubby uses the Pit Lord like I've never seen him used before. With an invisibility potion, he stops Zachard from mining for a long time. The sum of all of Grubby's harassment was him finishing off his gold mine while Zachard still had 1,400 gold left in his. The big difference in this fight is that Grubby has more money. Zachard may have better micro, but not that much better, and Grubby's superior heroes and army more than make up for the difference. Right now, Zachard has 2 options: take out Grubby's Expo or put up one of his own. He does neither. When Grubby kills Zachard's altar, any hero kill that he makes will essentially end the game. Grubby's level 6 Pit Lord has a very powerful ultimate, Doom, which really helps him win the game. All of that chaos damage with lots of useful spells is probably as good as the Infernal. Grubby won the game with these surrounds, but you have to look beyond the short term. In the game, Grubby outmined Zachard, which allowed him to win the game. In the 5 games played, the one that Grubby lost to Zachard was the one where the game was one long fight. Whenever long-term strategy was part of the game, Grubby won. Now, on to the top plays of the week. This time we're going to start at number 10. This is from the clan war between Mouse Sports and AS Team Play. The Blade Master makes it back in time to kill the Demon Hunter, but just misses. At number 9, people always bitch about Coil's range or Bolt's range, but how about the range of Holy Light for the kill? Now, number 8 comes from InCup. It's yet another example of how to kill peasants. It isn't 69 peasants like we saw earlier, but it still hurts to lose almost all of your peasants in one battle. If you ever get a Wand of Lightning shielded against a human, that should translate to at least 5 peasant kills, if you're good. It's definitely a skill you should practice, even if you're human, because it's very fun to pull off correctly. Coming in at number 7, the Lich TP's home, but the Paladin could go all the way. Holy Light for the kill. Coming in at number 6, Grubby vs Fury at BlizzCon. A speed scroll for an abomination? Good deal. Munch, munch, munch. Now at number 5, it's like a Protoss vs Protoss Reaver dropship battle all over again. For number 4, I'll let somebody else do the talking.
First blood. Double kill. Multi-kill. Ultra kill. Killing spree. Monster kill. Unstoppable. Godlike.
The number 3 play comes from Zacard vs Todd, Game 1 of the lower bracket finals. To my knowledge, this is the first time this kind of play has been used in a major tournament. Kudos to Todd. At number 2, when I watched it the first time, I thought, Todd, what are you doing? The play isn't that uncommon, but to do it with that low HP and coming that close to dying so many times makes this almost the top play of the week. Speaking of top plays, here's the number 1 play of the week. It speaks for itself.